Hi everyone, I'm Karen Hewitt Hagan. Welcome to the Art of Going Places, Learn How to Travel Sketch. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how I started at the end. I'll show you my plein air work versus my studio work, and we're going to flip through my personal sketchbooks. That's what this class is all about, and that's the really good part to me. And the even better part is we're going to do two little sketch-along exercises. So if you don't already have your pencil or sketch Sharpie or crayon or whatever you draw with and a piece of paper out, you might want to grab it. And then I'll show you my tiny supplies that I take everywhere with me in my pocket. And we'll talk about a workshop and how it feels. And then I've got some resources for the artist. But I want to say thank you at the beginning to Il Chiostro for hosting this event. Thanks, Michael and Linda. You guys make it all happen. And this is a little bit about the trip that Michael and Linda put together for this year in Diavole. It's about 45 minutes from Siena, and I am really looking forward to getting back there, October 19th through 27th. It would have been great if I had learned to travel sketch when I first started painting. I started out painting on really large canvases, all by myself, making the same mistakes over and over again. I was stuck. But then I met this guy, John Carroll Doyle. He became my mentor and he turned on all the lights for me. He taught me about light and shadow. He drew little Sharpie sketches and he encouraged me to go outside and paint. After I learned how to plein air paint, things got so much better and so much more exciting. My former husband and I sold our house and bought a boat and sailed away. It was a motorboat, but we call it sailing away because it sounds romantic. But we spent 8 years on that boat. It was called Motor Yacht Plein Air. And I learned how to paint small. I carried a backpack. I got in my dinghy. I toured the islands. And it was pretty amazing learning how to see nature and work on small canvases one at a time. This is what my plein air works looks like. I frequently use 6x6 canvases or 6x8 when I'm working out in the field. This is my former gallery that I owned for 14 years in Charleston. Just standing across the street looking at that beautiful light. And then I started working with Il Chiostro in about 2007, 2008. And things got really amazing because all of a sudden I was going to Europe once a year and we were seeing scenes like this and just this amazing piece of architecture. I think this was maybe a 6x8 size. And I came home and did a big piece from it afterwards, but just to be there and behold that and have the whole day or the whole morning to paint that, it's a big gift. If only I had been sketching. And this is what my work looks like very recently. This is Charleston plein air, done from a workshop that I gave about a year ago. Just rooftops and shadows. And then the bottom right is standing on someone's backyard in St. Simons, Georgia, just looking at those beautiful clouds and trying to grab it really quickly. Again, small canvases, 6x8 or 6x6. And then this is an older painting, probably from about 2010 from Amalfi. I think it's probably my favorite. The stripes on these boats, the fabric over them, gosh, I mean, that drives it all for me. But what I really like about it is it's small, 6x8, like I said, but I like the juiciness and the just the immediacy of what I grabbed. Plein air really guided me for so long. It's really, really important as a part of my vocabulary. This is from Lake Garda this year. We were there in October, and this was just up the hill right out from our little hotel that we were staying in. And you can see I have a little sketch here with some of the artist notes on it, and it really helps to make a design and kind of figure out what you're going to do with that really big landscape to get it on a 6x8 canvas. And these were done in Charleston recently at a workshop I gave. The window boxes there are amazing. And what I like to do is just really focus on one little intimate subject instead of the whole street. I like to work on it quickly. A little 6x8 might take less than an hour to do, but it's all driven by the shadows and the light and the simpleness of it. Anyway, Charleston's a beautiful place to paint if you haven't been there. So one year in Italy, we had been looking for poppies forever and never found the poppy fields, but finally it had rained enough before we got there, and we found these glorious poppy fields. We laid in them, we picked them, we wore them, we pressed them, we drew them, and I did these little plein air pieces, and they were the start of a whole new thing for me. They really influenced my big work after that, and I'll show you how. Painting outside was the key for me, and it led me to my larger studio work. But I still wish I had started travel sketching earlier. These tiny paintings had a bigger story to tell than 6x8. And the poppy paintings just keep getting bigger. They have just been a joy to work on these big 60-inch or 72-inch canvases. They work really well in large formats, and they've just taught me so much. These are some local scenes around Charleston. This is Fulton 5, a fabulous restaurant that's not there anymore, but just the beautifulness of that. This is not plein air. This is a studio painting. And this is a studio painting. I like to think that you really can't tell the difference. When I got back from the boat trip, I had gotten used to painting tiny little paintings outside and not having a studio. That's all I knew how to do. So the big work or the studio work didn't look good compared to the plein air work. So anyway, after many years, finally, I think the studio work looks a little bit like the plein air work. This is also studio. And this is what my work looks like today. Very recent paintings. These things are 48 by 60s or 48 by 36. They're abstracted florals. They have a theme sometimes of stripes or colors. But my work really has grown into a really different thing than just the plein air work. But it happened because of the plein air. This is called manatee sighting, 1, 2, and 3. The 2 square ones in the background were done last year. And then very recently, I did the longer piece that's on top and the picture on the front so that it would have 3 companion pieces. Anyway, it's just really fun to work again with the stripe theme and then to really abstract and deconstruct the painting. I work in series a lot. Once I get a feeling of a painting that I like a lot and how it's working out, I'll work in different formatics. I'll do it long and skinny and tall, or 60 inches wide or 72 inches wide, and follow those themes and those feelings to make bigger companion pieces and explore the work more. I'm going to show you my simple, easy to carry sketch supplies here. This is a tiny little watercolor set that I got from Amazon. The links for it are on my website. And I put my own little watercolors inside of it. I'm not a watercolorist, but I really enjoy using some of these supplies on my Sharpie sketches. This is my favorite size sketchbook. It's long and narrow. It's probably 3 inches by about 8 inches, and it's really all I need when I go sketching. This is fun to watch how this thing folds up so easy. You can use it on the plane, you can use it in the car if you're not driving, you can put it in your pocket. It's 3 inches. It's really all you need is that one little brush, a tiny sketchbook, and a Sharpie. These sketchbooks turned on all the lights for me. They made me feel free. They made me feel like I could do anything. And they helped me tell my story. Just a little flip through of some of my sketchbooks in Italy. Just sitting out in the field, sketching these poppies, thinking about them being bigger paintings. And then fearless sketching, just trying to draw things that are harder for me to draw. But here's how you get a chance to work it all out before you paint it. Really, really helps. These piles of sketchbooks are my story of exploration and joy. It all changed when I started No Fear Sketching. No judgment, no rules, just record what you see, what you feel, and what you hear. Seeing these notes and drawings in my sketchbook takes me right back to Italy. For you guys that know me, you know I like chandeliers. So I'm always hanging out in chandelier shops, looking up at my room in the hotel rooms and painting the ceiling or sketching the ceiling. And this little bottom one was from the Lake Garda trip recently. Meet my artist friends Deborah and Lauren. They were telling their stories and sketches in Italy last year. It's great fun just to look out of your hotel room and see what you see and let your pen move around the paper and make some written notes about what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and what you're smelling. No perfection, just respond to what you see. These were sitting on the back of a friend of mine's boat in Florida, and we added gouache to these after we drew them in Sharpie. This is where it all comes together for me. I did a Sharpie sketch out of my window from the balcony in Italy last year. Had a glass of wine, as you could see, and I made some artist notes. And that just gives me all the information I might need paired with the photo to make a painting later. I think it really helps to pair sketching with your favorite activities. Sometimes I sketch while the coffee's brewing at home, or while I'm having a cappuccino in Italy, or when I'm having a spritz. And then sometimes my journal notes end up in new paintings. This piece was made from a little 6x8 inch oil painting from a few years ago. And then I did an acrylic painting on paper and cut it up and then wove it and framed it in a shadow box. And it was really nice to experiment with making it, using my art to make a piece this way. And once you do this a few times, you'll get really used to taking your little travel sketchbook out to cafes. It's just amazing how much you can learn sitting there having a cappuccino, um, quietly sketching and making notes about what's around you. This was the view of my out of my hotel room in the Italy workshop last October at Lake Garda. So I took a big picture and then I cropped it and then I cropped it some more. Step 2, I did a few little drawings, and step 3, I did a quick little oil painting on paper, which is kind of unusual for me, just standing on my balcony. Anyway, nice process of 3 steps that makes it all easy for me. So, are blind contour sketches helpful? Have you done them before? They help me a lot, so the answer is yes. Here's some example of blind contour drawings. This was a friend of mine in Italy who had on big earrings, and I was looking at the photo of her, but not looking at the paper while I was sketching it. And it's kind of amazing, but it looks a little bit like her. These are people on the beach, me just peeping in on their relaxation and following the lines of the chairs and not looking at the paper. And I promise, not looking at the paper. This is me in Italy wearing a short little skirt. I think I was in Amalfi. And I did this from a photo when I got home. But I was not looking at the paper, just looking at the reference photo. And here's one I did in Italy on site at San Giovanni d'Asso. I did a little blind contour drawing first of this window, which was a little bit complicated, but it helped my mind figure out what I was getting ready to paint. And then there's the plein air painting next to it. And 2 more little blind contours. Again, I'm looking at the reference photo and not looking at the paper. And it's amazing how they turn out. We're going to do 2 little sketch-along exercises. So I've got a Tuscan cypress photo from D'Avelet, where my workshop's going to be this October, and I've got some pictures of a Capri boat that were beautiful. Now's the time to get out your supplies. Sharpie, your sketchbook or a piece of paper, and come along and sketch with me. Here's the simple instructions of how to do a blind contour sketch. Look only at the photo reference. Put the pen on the paper anywhere you choose. Don't lift the pen from the paper and just make a continuous line. Try to feel the lines and follow the form with your pen without looking at the paper. This is the blind contour drawing of the Tuscan cypress in Italy. This is actually from a photo I made of D'Avelet, which is where my workshop's going to be in October. Probably 10 or 15 years ago, I was there for a wine tasting, and I've used this photo a lot in my work since then. But this is just me feeling the line with my Sharpie and making a little blind contour drawing. It's a good way to warm up to making the actual drawing. And this is the actual quick sketch. So I'm looking at the paper now. I make little dots so I know where the center of the paper is and where some other key points are. And then I'm looking at my photo reference, looking back at the paper, and trying to decide what those big shapes are. You know, my hand knows a little bit because it did the blind contour drawing. So I had the warm up, which helps when you get ready to do this. And I'm just following the picture. The thing that got me about this photo was the strong shadows. It's just a lucky photo. Just this, I think I took this on the road into D'Avelet. But like I said, I've used it so many times in paintings. I'll show you some of those paintings in a minute. But this is how I get ready to make a painting. I do a little sketch on paper. They're tiny. I mean, they might be 2 inches by 3 inches. They're not real big. Over the years, I've used a lot of different kinds of Sharpies, and a lot of different kinds of markers. But lately, this ultra fine point is the one I like the best. I think because it leaves a mark, but it's not a real bold mark in case I want to color in with watercolor. The Sharpie still shows up. It doesn't bleed. It makes a nice base for me to explore a little bit of color with the watercolor before I start the oil painting or the acrylic painting. And here I'm just layering in the background. You know, I see those little houses or trees way up on the hill. I'm trying to decide where the darks are going to be. This is the shadow. Just making a mark to remind myself where the darkest things are. They're pretty important in this. The sun was coming from the left in this photo, as you can see. I don't know, maybe it was 10 or 11 o'clock, must have been morning. So I just lay in all my shadows there. Making my marks so I know where the darks are. And that gives me my outline and my blueprint for my painting. This is the reference photo. This is the first painting I did from that reference photo many, many years ago. I always liked this painting. This was a 12 by 12 inch and it was oil. And then this is one I did recently, maybe a year or two ago. I expanded it and wanted it to be more vertical. But all those blind contour sketches and warm-up exercises helped me get to this point. So this is the blind contour drawing of the Capri boats. I'm not looking at the paper, I promise. I'm just looking at the photograph and trying to let my hand follow the lines, not picking up the pen from the paper, trying to just look at those big shapes and go kind of outlining them just from one shape to the other. Everything's kind of connected. It's certainly not a finished drawing, but it's kind of like magic how it works. I mean, it really looks like the boats. It teaches your brain and your hand how to feel it. So now we're going to do the quick sketch of the Capri boats. I do 4 little dots to get some reference point on the canvas and a center dot. And what I really liked about this photo was those triangles that the lines make at the front of the left, and then that triangle is repeated between the 2 boats. So it's a really good reference photo. I'm really just trying to follow the lines of the boat and get the idea of how these boats are sitting in the water planned out. The photo is a really good photo because I can see the shadow, I can see the light. The light's coming from the top. It must be about noon. But that shadow hanging under the boat is what holds everything together when I paint it or when I draw it. The darkest dark is always where the boat hits the water. So that front of the bow where that really nice navy is real important. And then, the roundness of that dinghy is pretty fabulous. I think the lesson that I would be learning from this quick sketch is I should have drawn everything smaller if I'm using this size paper, or I should have scooted things a little bit to the left because I like the picture as it's composed. But I'm glad I'm just learning that I have a little bit of a composition adjustment to make in 3 minutes rather than as if I painted it for 3 hours and then discovered that I didn't have enough room to do what I wanted to do. So these little sketches are really helpful. I wish I had started doing this a long time ago when I was painting. You don't know how many paintings I pulled out in the compositions, from 10 or 20 years ago are really, they fail because I didn't do this sketch. So 3 minutes really, really helps a whole lot. I'm just putting in the darkest dark here. I'm using that ultra fine point Sharpie. I like, just giving you a little indication of where the shadow is and where some of the darkest darks are. There's those nice little ripples in the water. They're actually easier to paint than they are to draw like this. And if I had this to paint, if I wanted to paint it, I might use that yellow towel that's hanging out in the far left boat. I might put that into the painting somehow. But I'm not going to put it into this drawing. I like those, the red and green stripes on the dinghy side are pretty cool. But anyway, that's kind of how that works for me. This is a little bit about how an Italian workshop makes you feel. It makes you smile. It makes you so happy to be with your friends in Italy in the field and to stand by the water and paint and go out and do stretching exercises with Michael in the morning, go shopping with friends in the beautiful streets during the day and then have dinner on a rooftop deck in Italy, in Florence, and look at the Duomo while the bells ring. A little bit more about what we do in Italy. We go to dinner, we eat beautiful food, we go shopping, we stand in the windows and we drink wine, and we take ferry rides and go shopping to beautiful places. It's just an amazing thing to be with your painting friends in Italy. I want to give a little love to Il Chiostro. Michael and Linda, this has been absolutely the best thing I've ever done for my artist self, is to come teach with you. I've been teaching with you guys since 2007, a really long time. And you guys really know how to host. You're amazing to be with, and you do all the heavy lifting and all the hard work so that I can paint with the students. Thank you. Since this is recorded, I did some frequently asked questions for you. Most people ask, where's my supply list? Well, it's on my website at the blog. Other questions I get are, do you have any step-by-step videos? And yes, I do. And there's one actually included as a bonus video at the end of this that was of painting with me, painting with a silly GoPro camera on my forehead in Portugal. And the biggest question I get is, do I need a lot of painting experience to go on your trip? No, you do not. If you can bring a sketchbook and a Sharpie, you can have a fabulous time on the upcoming trip. If you want to bring your oil paints or your acrylic paints or your pastels or whatever else you use, that's fine too. But taking a class in Italy on my upcoming retreat is an excellent place to start if you're a beginner. If you're a pro, we're calling this trip coming up a retreat. So you can be on the trip, be with us, enjoy going everywhere we're painting, but you can do your own work and not have me influence it. So therefore, if you're going to sell that work later, you can say it's entirely my own work and the instructor didn't work with me on it. So the upcoming trip is good for pros or beginners. And here's your ticket to Artist Resources. Just scan or photo this QR code and it'll take you to my blog, and that has all of the supplies and little videos about how I pack and how I stay inspired, all on my blog. Enjoy. And these are some pictures from the actual Diavole Instagram account. I've been following them so I can remember what the place looks like. I was there, but it was a long time ago. So you're invited to join my sketching and painting retreat. It's October 19th to 27th. It's an 8-day trip at Diavole Wine Resort. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our sketchbooks out in the field right around Diavole. We'll paint on their property. We'll make sketches. And if you want to bring your oil paints, we'll make oil paintings or acrylics or pastels. Hope to see you there. This is one of my favorite pictures from way back when I went to Venice after a workshop. You're invited. Pack your bags and let's go find our stories. Just to sum everything up, these three things have made telling my story so much easier. Quick sketching, really helpful. Blind contour sketching, really helpful. And plein air, it was key for me. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much for joining us. Here's how to get in touch. That's my phone number and my email address and my website. I'm working in Florida, in Pompano, in my Florida studio for the winter until about June. And then I'll be in the Charleston studio for the rest of the year. I hope to hear from you. Thank you for sketching along with me today. You can replay this video and go back to the little demonstration of me sketching and sketch along with it. I'd love it if you want to email me what you do. I'm happy to critique them or celebrate them with you. But thank you. Appreciate you joining me. And this is the bonus video I told you about. This is a 5-minute recording that Michelle Morton did for me in Portugal a few years ago. And you can see step by step about how my approach to a plein air painting. Hope you enjoy. Have a great day. Thank you.